Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Heavy Checklist podcast. You are here tonight in the presence of greatness, and I'm not talking about myself. I'm talking about my co-host. It's a kind of solo episode tonight. It's just myself and Mr. Hans Magoo.
That's me,
That's
Hans
him.
Magoo.
That's our guy. And the reason why we're doing a solo episode is because we wanted to, it's been a minute since we've done a podcast, and obviously that's the number one reason is, it's unacceptable how long we've been away. And number two, we've been thinking a lot lately about what we should do to kind of I guess the best way to put it is to kind of reconnect with our fans and our viewers and our friends and all of you guys. You see, the way we shoot our content is we don't do a lot of daily content, and the reason for that is because our videos are big, they're overwhelming. There's a lot of stuff that goes into whether it be a recovery or a search and rescue mission or searching for gold. These are big operations that usually take multiple days to finish a video, which ultimately ends up leaving us in a spot where we're not able to give you daily updates. And what we found is that a lot of you guys actually like to hear the small, seemingly insignificant stuff. You like to know the smaller details of our lives and what we're up to. Things that I honestly didn't even realize that many of you even cared about. I should know that you care about it because you guys are the best fans and viewers in the world. But unfortunately, we just have got a little bit behind the eight ball. And also, we've had a ton of stuff going on. Our schedules have been crazy. We've just been dealing with a lot this last 6 months, this last year, really. We've been going through a lot of evolutionary changes in our business and, kind of redirecting in some areas, doubling down in other areas, and just trying to keep up with everything while still trying to balance, our family and personal lives and everything else we got going on. So the purpose of today's episode is going to be different than, what you normally hear, where there's a lot of us sitting around the table talking about a variety of different topics. This is going to be more myself and Hans just giving you guys updates, filling you in, and then answering your questions. That's one of the main things we're going to be doing tonight. Is I put up a post the other day on my Instagram and put up the number for our hotline, which by the way is 801-436-8677. That is basically the direct voicemail that comes straight to me. So if you ever have a question, comment, concern, or just want to, hit us up, you can always call that number, leave a message, and while we try to get to all of them, I can't guarantee that we get to all of them, but tonight we've got a handful of messages. I actually can't believe how many of you hit the hotline the other day. Tuesday is when I put that post up, and we've got, I'm looking at hundreds of voicemails right now, and obviously there's no way that we could get to all those in, any sort of reasonable amount of time, so we're not going to, unfortunately. So if you left a message and we didn't get to it, just keep calling, keep trying. We will do our best. Some of your messages are more like statements that we can't necessarily really respond to because you're just saying something, not really asking us anything. So make sure that if you do leave a message and you hit the hotline, that it's something that we can actually engage with, whether it's a question or a sincere thought or whatever it is. We will do our best to get to you, and that's what we're going to do tonight. And I'm really excited about it because there's actually some really good stuff in here. And the reason why Hans is here is because Hans is the master. He's really the guy that makes all this happen. Myself, Diesel Dave, Alan, we show up and do the heavy lifting, while Hans does the real heavy lifting most of the times behind the scenes with coordinating logistics and just, making things happen. And you would not believe how incredibly busy Hans stays with all the logistics that go into what we do. So
I'm actually here just to listen to all the hate comments to the voicemails.
We're going to see. I haven't seen one yet.
Guarantee there'll be one or two.
Some of these messages, I've listened to a handful, just a few, to kind of get an idea of the flavor. And so those ones I've already, heard and I kind of know what to expect. We will be opening voicemails that we haven't heard yet. So you guys are going to be just as surprised as we are by what comes out. And keep in mind that we'll probably end up having to cut some of them just because there's probably some stuff on here that is not worth filling the time. And we try to be respectful of your time and not waste it by filling it with, comments or questions or concerns that aren't real or, it's not, something that's worth spending any time on.
What are the voicemails you've already kicked out?
Well, you want to, I'll give
just for people so they know what not to.
I'll give you a little flavor of one right here. Where's it at?
This has been the kicked out list.
Yeah, this one is one that I'm just really probably not going to respond to, although it's a, it's a sincere question, maybe. Not necessarily one that we're going to spend any time on. Let's see if I can find it here.
I hope it's what I think it is. It's probably what's usually asked by middle-aged men more than women.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is an example of a question that probably not going to get much of a response, although I guess we are giving him some airtime tonight just as a good example of what not to do.
How heavy is it, D? How heavy is that D, man?
Yeah. I mean, he seems sincere. He also seems a little confused, not sure where he's at.
Just a man on his sofa wanting to know.
Yeah, he's just curious. So not going to get to that one tonight, unfortunately. We're going to leave you guys wondering on that one. Use your imagination. But before we get to some of the voicemails, I want to get into just some updates for you to kind of help you guys understand where we're at, what we've been doing, what we're excited about, and what you can look forward to in some of our upcoming content. So as you know, on our YouTube channel, we try to keep the content as diverse as possible, meaning we're not going to do what we did in the Diesel Brothers days, which is truck. It's just nonstop trucks, because we still love trucks and we still build trucks and we still drive trucks and we do all things trucks, but it's not the only thing that we do. It's not who we are. We're not just the truck guys. And that's actually one of the reasons why I left Discovery Channel and decided to stop doing the TV shows, because it just kind of felt like we were just the truck guys. And, Discovery has a TV show format. Whenever they have a TV show format that works for them, they don't like to change it because it works. And that's kind of how all reality TV shows are. Producers and network people really don't like to change things up because, it could potentially change how the show goes or the success of it or whatever. I disagree with that wholeheartedly, and I was constantly kind of leaning into Discovery a little bit, letting them know, like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do aviation stuff, I want to do explorations, I want to do things that I actually want to do, things that I'm excited about. And I would try to convince them, like, hey, if you cover things that I'm excited about, you're gonna get a way better episode, whatever it may be. And you never know what you're gonna get with us. Literally, even sometimes I don't even know what we're gonna get with us, because we just kind of respond to different situations, and our content comes in many different forms. As you guys have seen, we do search, rescue, and recovery. So search and rescue is more like somebody got lost, we go out tracking them down, trying to find them. Recoveries are somebody got stuck, somebody's vehicle rolled down a cliff, something happened, and we're trying to basically solve somebody's logistical problem of a vehicle or piece of equipment or aircraft or whatever it is that is incapacitated and no longer able to move. So that's why we have all the specialty equipment that we have, and we like to get out there and solve the problems. I love a good challenge. The whole team loves a good challenge, and the bigger and the nastier and the more stuck it is, the better. So that type of content works really well on our YouTube channel. But we also didn't just want to be the recovery channel, because again, we didn't want to just get stuck in one single niche, because it's not fun for us. You'll get much better content out of us if we're doing things that we're actually excited about, rather than just doing the same thing over and over again just because it works and following kind of that stale TV show format. Another thing that we do is we'll make random purchases. So some of our highest performing videos on the channel have actually been when we go out to strangers' property and they've got a bunch of stuff in their backyard or a farm or something, and we make them an offer to buy some or all of it.
Speaking of that, I bought 5 storage units today with your card. So
see, that's what I'm talking about.
I apologize.
This is the kind of stuff that we love. I have no idea what he bought.
Yeah,
just a couple of.
The one guy kept bidding me up, so I think there's something there that I didn't see. But I just thought if he's trying to bet $1,000 on this, I might as well. So
was it an auction that people could go preview, or was there just doors and pictures?
No, it was just pictures and some really, really bad videos. But yeah, it's fine.
It's honestly, for me, that's exciting. They could literally be 5 units just packed full of trash, and the mystery, the adventure of showing up and not knowing what we got, but being kind of 99% sure it's mostly just trash. It's whatever. It's that 1%.
Open up the sickest stereo shop. There's a lot of speakers.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's funny when you go into storage units, you kind of know what to expect, because storage units are usually full of furniture, clothing, old stereo systems out of cars, a lot of miscellaneous sporting goods, and oddly enough, we've found a lot of like keepsakes, like people's like journals and like family photos and like stuff that you would probably want to hang on to. And it's always kind of sad when you find those ones, because it's like, I don't know what to do with this, but I'm not going to store this for somebody because A, I don't know who it is, and B, what am I going to do? Like hang on to somebody's personal stuff? That's weird. So you end up throwing away things that, belong to somebody, and that was like their life's collection of stuff. Anytime we do see that, we try our best to like make sure that we're not throwing away insanely valuable, irreplaceable items, and maybe try to contact the owner. But believe it or not, it's really difficult. Once somebody's abandoned a storage unit or whatever, it's pretty damn hard to get in touch with them and you know, get their belongings back to them. But that's another thing that we love to do. We love to just buy stuff because the adventure of, it's kind of like the American Picker show, right? That's a really popular show.
He just passed away.
Did he really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
The bearded guy, he just passed away.
That's one of my favorite shows. But we try to do the same thing with American Pickers, just on a kind of a bigger, heavier scale. So American Pickers of heavy equipment and farm equipment. And, you know, we bought everything from, you know, like storage units and abandoned box trucks all the way up to, you know, this guy had 40 acres worth of stuff. You guys remember that video last summer? We went to Colville and it was like 3 or 4 part video series. And man, we're still dealing with that junk. We've got stuff scattered all over the place. And, you know, I don't like to throw things away. I have a bit of a hoarding problem. I'm getting better. But, you know, everything that I see could potentially become something. And so I try to hang on to things for just as long as I possibly can to make sure that, you know, we're not throwing away stuff that's super valuable or super like rare or irreplaceable, but getting to the point where we're running out of space. So this week we've actually been trashing a ton of stuff, just scrapping. It's rough. It's so hard for me. Sometimes I can't even look at the loads going to the scrapyard because we're, you know, hauling off old tractors and equipment and things that at one point I went and I was like, yeah, I gotta have that. And we loaded it up and we brought it back to the shop, and then it just sat at our storage lot for a year or two and we did nothing with it. So kind of have this new policy where if we've had it for more than kind of 3 or 4 months and haven't touched it and haven't thought about it, then
and nobody's purchased it. Like
that's
if
the
we
thing.
place it online, because a lot of this stuff people are like, should have sold it, should have sold it. Everything goes up for sale.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. We don't just put stuff in storage and then never see it again. Like a lot of the stuff that we do bring back, we will put up for sale. But it's what's kind of crazy is the market for like older equipment is not good. It's people don't want old equipment. You would think they do. You'd think farmers and guys want it, but they don't. We also try to do, you know, explorations. That's one thing that we really love to do, and it's actually a video series that performs really well. And we're working on one right now that we're all really excited about. It's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time and been kind of gathering information and reaching out to people to make sure that when we launch this series that it could perform, you know, the best possible and that we could actually provide real valuable, you know, not only information but entertainment, because that's ultimately what we create with these videos. So the one we've been working on right now is a search for the lost Spanish treasure here in Utah. And if you're not familiar with that, in a nutshell, back in the 17th century, there was a lot of Spaniard explorers that came out here and they worked with and against the Native American tribes that were here, and they mined their gold and their treasures. And I think in some areas they enslaved the Native Americans, and in some areas they worked with them. But essentially, you know, long story short, they gathered immense amounts of treasures that date all the way back to like the Mayan and Aztec times, where they would mine through the mountains of Utah and, you know, surrounding areas, and they would take those treasures and they would store them in caves and in mines. Wow,
That was wild.
we got another thing we're dealing with in Utah today is the weather has finally decided to change on us. I don't know if you guys heard that, but that was a tremendous thunderbolt that just hit. So we've got the Spanish treasure, which is again, the Spaniards would hide them in these different places, and they would keep them as kind of like warehouses before they would put them on their ships and send them back to Europe. And we know that we know that this is real. We know that this actually happened because there are actually Spanish treasures that have been found: silver bars, gold bars, maps. There's all sorts of like stuff that's been passed down through the generations. And we believe, and legend has it, that there is areas where huge amounts of gold bars and silver bars and different types of treasures were placed and hidden, getting ready for their next voyage over to, you know, back to Spain, and they never made it. So it was whether the Spaniards never came back or the Native Americans basically came in and took it and hid it somewhere else. So legend has it that there are a few caverns and caves here all over Utah, from the Uinta Mountains all the way down to the, you know, Lake Powell in southern Utah and the Henry Mountains. And everybody's got their idea of where it might be. And there's, like I said, there's old maps, there's copper maps, there's stone inscriptions, there's all sorts of different things pointing to different areas, and people, treasure hunters here in Utah and all over the place, have been searching around for years trying to find it. And we actually were able to get a hold of a few old timers, guys that have been doing this for a long time, like since the 70s and 80s, and they worked with treasure hunters before them, people who have already passed away, which is the key here, because you got to understand, when somebody knows about a treasure, or they've got a tip or a hint, or they've got a piece of treasure that was passed down to them from their dad or their grandpa, those people eventually pass away, and when they die, the information that they have goes with them. So we are trying to save as much of this information as possible, because even in the last 10 years, a lot of the guys that knew a lot about these different treasure sites, they're gone. And fortunately for us and for the world, they left some of their information with the people who are still alive, and those are the people that we've contacted and we've been working with. And we've put together one hell of a plan and kind of a search grid, starting in the Uinta Mountains, of different places that people are convinced we're going to find, like old Spanish cannons and giant bears carved out of stone. Like the bear is so detailed, like you can see they carved hair out of the stone, like very detailed stuff. And it's not just one person that says, "Oh yeah, it's here," like a Sasquatch story. This is confirmed by multiple different witnesses and multiple different people that are not connected to each other. So we're really excited about the Spanish treasure, and that's going to be a full
submitted it over
video
to
series.
the guys from Outer Banks. They're coming out.
Oh, the Outer
John
Banks.
B and the
Yeah,
boys.
John B and JJ.
We're gonna search.
Which, by the way, did you watch the new season?
Had to.
It's not bad. Look, Outer Banks.
It's not
for those
bad.
of you,
This guy.
for those of
this
you
guy,
listening,
what he watches.
Yeah.
Unreal.
I'll watch I'll give anything a chance for the most part. And Outer Banks has proven to be just kind of cheap, easy entertainment to watch at night when you're winding down. And the storyline's fun because it's talking about treasure hunting.
I could see you on an episode one of these days.
I could easily be on an episode. So yeah, the treasure hunting one, we've released one episode. It's on our YouTube channel. You guys can find it there. And we've got a few more coming, and we've got some really, really cool places that we're going to explore here soon. And my favorite part about this is we were able to meet with these old timers who have information that's been passed down to them forever. And some of them actually have, like one of them, when we met with them, had a silver bar that was like stamped with engravings from the Spaniards. So it proves that there was actually something there. And we're going to be able to take these guys and essentially kind of fulfill their lifelong dreams of being able to search some of these really, really remote, hard to find areas, which the reason why they haven't gone to some of these areas and haven't been able to search is because it's really hard to access some of these spots. Like some of them are only accessible by helicopter or horseback. And so we're going to help them cover more ground in a day than they've probably covered in their whole lives searching. And that's simply because we've got access to the helicopter, and the Black Hawk is one hell of a treasure hunting machine because it's got enough power to take as many people as we want with as much gear and tools and equipment as we want into the most insane places, regardless of the altitude, regardless of the weather conditions. It is just the ultimate beast of a machine. And we were actually supposed to go a couple days ago. We ran into a mechanical issue, so we had to postpone. They were bummed, but we're going to reschedule that for this early next week, and we're going to take them out there. And for me, whether we find treasure or don't find treasure, that's like a secondary thing. My main excitement here is to get these guys out and like help them check these places off their list, because there's places they've wanted to go that they just can't get to. They're just too hard to get to. So the treasure videos are going to be a really exciting one that you can tell that it's a good video because we're really excited about it. You can tell in the video if we're like amped and like actually curious and interested and excited. So that's one that stay tuned for. The series is going to continue to drop more videos here over the next few weeks, and I believe you guys are really going to enjoy it. That first video's already performing well. People are loving it. So that one is currently underway. Another video series that we do is searching for missing people. That's a big one. We are working on putting together an update video of some of the missing person searches that we've done. People like Dylan Rounds, Susan Powell, some of these different people we've searched for with Doug Bishop. Doug used to be with Adventures with Purpose. He now has his own channel called United Search Corps. And for those of you who don't know, we actually were successful in solving a 20-year-old cold case a couple weeks ago. Doug reached out to us and let us know that a person that we had been searching for up in Flaming Gorge, that video we posted about 6 months ago, he found a new lead, and sure enough, we went and recovered this vehicle, and we found the remains of Stephen Willard Anderson, who went missing from Salt Lake City back in 2004. And man,
Wild.
finding those remains and bringing closure to that family, we do a lot of these searches, and I'd say 99% of the time we find nothing because you're literally searching for a needle in a haystack. But that moment of actually being able to pull him out of that watery grave and give his family answers. I mean, they didn't know. This family is wondering maybe their dad is moved to another country or a different state.
We've done that. We've had that happen before.
We have. One of our searches, we searched for a guy and we were, looking underwater, and we didn't end up finding him, but we found some other vehicles that were just stolen. There was no bodies in them. But after that video went live, somebody reached out and was like, "Hey, that guy's not dead. He's just in California.
He's just with us at this church group."
Yeah.
Like he wanted to leave.
Been gone for like 15 years.
Yeah, he just was tired.
I mean, granted, we didn't find remains, but we did solve the case because we found where the guy was. It's pretty cool. So, but actually finding human remains is a very surreal experience, very reverent experience. You gotta approach those things with the utmost respect because obviously, you're dealing with someone's loved one who had something happen to them, whether it was foul play or, self-harm, whatever it is, we don't know. Once we pull the body and the vehicle out of the water, our job is done, and the family gets their closure. So very cool. We're going to give you guys an update video here soon on Dylan Rounds, who was actually found.
You saw that thing I sent you this morning?
Yeah, full report. Crazy.
Wild.
So it ended up, Dylan Rounds was killed. He's the kid who was out in the West Desert of Utah, 19-year-old kid, went missing around Memorial Day of 2022 or something like that, a couple years ago. And I was pretty certain that it was his neighbor, a guy named Jim something. I can't remember the guy's name, old timer. Him and Dylan kind of had a feud, and the day that we went out there searching for Dylan right after he went missing, I knew that Jim
made sense.
I knew that Jim, because we were flying over the property looking for him, and this guy wouldn't look up at the helicopter, this Jim guy, and he was just trying to pretend like we weren't there. I had a feeling, I knew it, and sure enough, he got arrested on unrelated charges, and then ended up coming clean about having killed Dylan. So they know where he was found and all the details. So we're going to give you an update on that. Susan Powell is one that's very close to my heart. I've become super close with Susan's family, her parents, and we spent a ton of time searching for her. The hard part about Susan is she's been missing for almost 15 years now, back in 2009. And we've searched mines, we've searched canals, we've searched, creeks and rivers and desert. We've searched all over the place. And human remains, after, 15 years, they become extremely hard to find. Our best case scenario is that she would be in a mine shaft, because then her body would at least be preserved.
Yeah.
If a body's tossed out in the desert or in the wilderness, wild animals are going to get that within a matter of days, and you're not going to have any remnants that you're going to be able to find.
Especially when there was foul play.
Yeah.
Because the person doing the foul play is obviously going to make that other person unfindable.
Well, Susan's husband, Josh, was a psychopath, and he definitely killed her.
Yeah.
Because he ended up killing himself and his two kids later on. But he, along with the assistance of his brother, Michael, and his creepy-ass dad, Steve, they got together and figured out a way to get rid of her body. I believe they put her somewhere for a couple of days, and then Michael, Josh's brother, went back later and moved her. My gut tells me that he dumped her in the Snake River up in Idaho, up near Boise, and throwing a body in a river, you're never going to find it again. Unless you find it within a couple of weeks when the body's still bloating and rises to the surface, but you're never going to find bones in a river. You're never going to find bones in and that's a hard part, is I have a lot of people send us messages saying, hey, my buddy fell into this lake and they can't find his body. It's like, you're never going to find his body.
Yeah.
Because sonar is not going to show you a body at the bottom of it's not even going to show you a body 10 feet deep.
Yeah, it's hard to see a car sometimes.
It's hard to see a car, let alone a body. So we do continue to work on these missing persons cases. So, and that's one thing I'll invite you guys to do as you listen. If you have something that you would like us to look into, shoot us an email, info@heavydsparks.com, or shoot us a call here on the hotline, 801-436-8677. Hope I'm giving you the right number. I'm pretty sure I am.
We're not finding you your next date either. Okay.
Yeah.
These are real cold cases.
I mean, maybe if you're compatible with any of our shop guys, we might have a turnkey solution.
And we've got all types.
We've got a couple types, all the best kinds. So that's some of the video series that we've been working on, and we actually just got done. I've got to tell you guys, we've been keeping a secret from you, and it feels wrong, but in early September, mid-September, we just got done shooting a whole new TV show that we've kept super quiet. And it's a show that I've wanted to shoot for a long time. In fact, I wanted to do it before we ever even did Diesel Brothers. And the best part is we waited long enough that we were able to control the whole thing ourselves. So we didn't have to work with a production company or Discovery or any network, meaning they would come in and have full control over it. It's something that we took the time to set up and produce ourselves. And it is awesome. It's basically a new version of an old show that almost everybody I know absolutely loves. And if you guys know, and I'm not going to give you any hints yet, but most of you who hear the old show, and you'll know exactly what we're talking about, and you're going to love it. So here, sometime in the next several weeks, we will have probably a sizzle reel that we will potentially release. Now, this show, we're not 100% sure where we're going to put it. We have a lot of options. That's the good thing. YouTube is one place we're strongly considering, but we also are thinking about maybe putting it on one of the streaming platforms, Netflix, Hulu. I know Fox Nation wants it. There's a bunch of different networks that really want it, but since we're in no rush and we don't have to find a partner right away, we're taking our time to make sure that we find the right partner that puts the show where it belongs, and not like Saturday mornings on some obscure cable network that nobody watches, because it's a primetime show. This is a show that I believe is going to outperform Diesel Brothers and outperform pretty much anything we've ever done up until this point. And the cool thing about it is we're able to shoot like 8 to 10 episodes of this show in a week or two. Whereas Diesel Brothers, the reason why you never saw a lot of new Diesel Brothers is because it would take us a freaking year to film one season of 6 to 8 episodes, because we did these giant builds, and builds, you don't do them overnight. They take a minute to do, and it's just not that easy to crank out that many episodes of that format of a show. So we, again, completely done with Diesel Brothers. We don't do that show anymore, and it's been fantastic not having to deal with that, because doing that many builds a year is very frustrating. It's hard to do. It's hard to keep up, and you end up having builds that are like halfway done, and you end up having to get them back and finish them, and it's just a nightmare. It ran its course, and we had fun doing it, but this new concept is going to be something that I believe everybody is going to enjoy. Everybody from automotive enthusiasts to, just if you
Game
like
shows.
Yeah, if you like Mythbusters or shows like that, you're gonna love this. It's not Mythbusters, but it's a show that's kind of game show format. It works for pretty much everybody. So we'll try to fill you guys in on that here soon. Give you some updates on what that looks like and where you might potentially be able to see more. Another question that we've got is when we do YouTube videos, we have to, well, not have to, but every few videos will include what's called a sponsored integration. And that is something like a 60 to 90 second ad for a company like AG1, for example. AG1 has been a long time sponsor of the channel, great company to work with. And basically, every month or two, they come to us and say, hey, we want to do, an ad in one of your videos. And so we'll obviously do our ad, talk about the product, and I drink the product every day, so it's something that I can easily and naturally talk about. It's something I believe in. But we have a lot of companies that come to us. You would not believe the amount of companies that come to YouTube channels like ours wanting to buy these 60 to 90 second integrations.
I better respond to 5 or 6 emails a day
Yeah.
on random stuff that we want nothing to do with.
There's some stuff out there. We say no to 8 out of every 10 of those requests, if not 9 out of 10. We say no to a lot of them, just because if it's not something that we believe in or use or could potentially see value in promoting, then we're not going to do it. And we also don't want to overwhelm our viewers with ads. But
Are you going to play the request, the question?
Okay. I'm going to...
I think everyone's sick of our voice already.
I'm going to jump to one of the questions right here.
I feel like he worded it in a way that everybody wants to say it to us.
I'll search for it in a minute. But essentially, it was a message on the hotline we got. This guy said, hey, why does it feel like, some of your more recent videos, you're just promoting, products or ads, or they feel kind of like just sponsored instead of natural? And that's a good question. So we try to find a good balance of how often we do ads and what they look like, and there's a couple different types of ads that we do on YouTube. There's a sponsored integration, which like I said, is that 60 to 90 second ad that we can place in really any vlog, any video that we're doing. And then there's dedicated ads, and these are way bigger. It's where they basically sponsor the entire video, and the sponsor wants us to talk about their product throughout the video. One good example of this, one that I actually really enjoy working for, is Insta360. Insta360 is a camera company, and they say, hey, we want to sponsor a whole video and basically just shoot the video on one of our cameras. So that's natural. It's easy. They make a great product. We use them anyways. And then, throughout the video, we're talking about the highlights of the camera and why it works. And it's awesome. One we did recently was for a company called Anchor. Anchor makes these like incredible power stations. They make all kinds of cool products, but they wanted a dedicated video of us installing their off-grid Solix F3800 power station, with their expandable battery packs. Is really, really cool power solution for like power outages and off-grid settings. But, to make a whole video out of that can get tricky. It gets really hard sometimes because we don't want this to feel like an ad. We want it to be something that we would be doing naturally anyways, but trying to incorporate the sponsor's product throughout the video. And that's probably what this voicemail that we got on the hotline was. The guys, the Anchor video just kind of felt like a 20-minute commercial, and we hate those just as much as you do. Not that we hate the sponsor or the company or the fact that we're working with them. We hate making something feel like a commercial nonstop, because nobody wants to watch a 20-minute commercial. So when we do those sponsored integrations, which we try to do very few and far between, we try to make them actually valuable and engaging. And if you can see past the fact that we're promoting a product and realize that this product is actually really cool, because I won't take on a product if it's not something that we don't actually think we're excited about. But the reason why we do these ads and integrations is because this is how we make money, guys. This is we can't afford to go out and just do YouTube videos for free or for fun, because at any given time,
watching us travel in a Honda Civic's not near as cool as the Blackhawk.
It's not. That's a good point.
That's
a
reality.
great point. Watching us drive around in some boring ass vehicle, as opposed to being able to afford the Blackhawk, which Blackhawk fuel and parts and maintenance, they're not cheap, which is why companies like AG1 and all of our other sponsors are so rad to step up. That allows us to do that. So really, the sponsors are not only for our benefit, but also for the viewers, because it allows us to create better content, just higher production value. We're able to go further, do more, and we use a lot of that money, believe it or not, to help people. Most of the recoveries and things that we do, we don't charge people to do. And that is covered by sponsors. So, Sarah Gordo is a good example, going down to help Brent. Brent never paid us a dime, and I never asked him for any money. Instead, we just had our sponsors help us, pay for the fuel and all that kind of stuff to get down there. Guys, a lot of times these, like on one single video, we'll lose money. But overall, in the long run, it usually works out that we can actually be profitable and keep going. Because if we weren't running ads and we weren't doing these integrations, we wouldn't be able to do the channel. Like flat out, it's the amount of money we spend on this is insane. One single video can cost 50 to 100 grand in expenses just to get it done, and YouTube ad revenue does not pay enough to cover all those videos sometimes. And some videos are cheaper, and we can make money on them. But the only reason and the only way that we're able to continue doing these really crazy over the top videos is when we have sponsors supporting us. So on the flip side of that, we hear you, and we understand that it's frustrating sometimes seeing ads over and over and over again. So things we try to avoid is we try not to do an ad in every single video. We try to give you a break between, like, let's say we do 2 videos with ads. We'll try to give you a video or 2 without ads, and just kind of stagger it that way so that you do get a break from it. The big dedicated videos, we probably only do
once or twice a year.
Yeah, once or twice a year, if that. And it's only if it's a good fit for us, and we try to avoid that. So just know that another thing that I really struggle with is these are really only supposed to be 60 to 90 second ads. Well, I usually ramble on for 10 minutes, 20 minutes trying to like, because I want to make sure like I'm getting the message across and you guys understand what it is that I'm promoting and why I'm excited about it and why it could benefit you and what the value is. So it's really hard for me to condense that all into like 60 to 90 seconds, but I'm trying. And I'm making a very conscious effort along with our editors. And every time we shoot an integration, I let the team know, like, guys, stop me if I repeat myself. Cut anything out if I repeat myself. Don't let this become just some long-winded, ramble fest, because that doesn't work.
And what's crazy is we've done all types. Like, we've done the fun, interactive ones. We've done like the quick, like to the point ones. We've done a mix of both. Everybody has something negative to say about every style.
Oh yeah.
Like, there's not like we're trying to find the perfect way to do ads, and we just no matter what we do, nobody's perfect.
There is no perfect way to do it, and it's simply because everybody's got an opinion. Yeah. Some people love the skits and the funny things when we go like way over the top or do green screen, which I really enjoy those. We probably need to get into doing more of those again. We haven't been as creative on the ad stuff for a while, and that's because we've been more focused on the creative of the actual video that we're doing. And some of these videos are just really complicated. Another thing we're trying to do better is shoot the ad in the moment, which is really hard for me to do, because let's say we're doing a recovery and we're, moving along, we got everything loaded up and we're getting ready to pull this dozer out of the mud. Last thing I want to do is stop and shoot an ad, because it just distracts from the moment, and I just want to get the job done. Like, once I get my mind set on something, it's really hard. And this is where
we kind of play paper, rock, scissors, me and the editors, say like, who's going to go ask Sparks if we're shooting the ad right now?
Yeah, it's really hard to approach me to do anything when I've got tunnel vision on the task at hand. And it's a good and a bad thing, because it allows us to accomplish tasks that are really hard to do and that other people can't do. But it's hard because there's no stopping us. Once this train gets rolling, like, don't try to interrupt. So we are making conscious efforts to make the ads shorter, make them more engaging, make them more like relevant to the moment in the video, rather than like breaking away and just having it be some weird moment where it's like, oh, that's just a complete ad. Like, we try to integrate it into the video as much as we can. But with that said, we're not always able to do that, because sometimes interrupting the moment when we're filming, it doesn't make sense, and it could potentially throw off, the whole mood or the whole energy of the moment that we're actually filming in. So in those moments, we will have to do a cutaway to an ad, but just know that we don't do it because we're lining our pockets with all kinds of cash and just making money hand over fist, because we're not. We're just trying to pay the bills and keep everybody employed and be able to continue to afford to do these cool missions, like, searching for people's lost loved ones, or responding to a natural disaster, which, by the way, that's I'll probably respond to that one here real quick. When Hurricane Helene hit and Hurricane Milton hit, we received no less than 10,000 emails, phone calls, messages, just got completely bombarded. And it's for good reason. It's because we've proven that when shit hits the fan, we step up as often as we can. We've been doing this for a long time. Hurricane Harvey was a big one for us. We loaded up probably 10 different trucks and trailers and helicopters and people, and we got down there. And that was a good learning experience for us, because we got to Hurricane Harvey like a day or two too late, in my opinion. We still were able to do some good. We were able to help. We were able to do a lot of stuff. But in a natural disaster setting, and I'm explaining this so that you guys understand kind of how and why we do what we do, when a natural disaster hits, you've got about a 48-hour window to get in and do like the life-saving, critical, like rescuing people off of rooftops type stuff. And most of those, critical life-saving missions are handled within the first 2 or 3 days. So depending on where the disaster is, I mean, if it's in Utah, yeah, we can be there, within a couple of hours. If it's in North Carolina, well, just to get to North Carolina with our equipment is a solid, 36 hours.
Yeah.
By the time you get stuff loaded up and get out there, it's closer to probably like 48 hours. So with the helicopters and stuff, it's not as easy as just like, oh, something bad happened, let's go. It's like, oh, something bad happened. So this is where we've kind of grown and changed and learned from our mistakes. Something bad happens and we're like, okay, let's assess the situation. Let's figure out what actual needs there are on the ground. What's going on out there? Who's there? Who's our point of contact? Who are we working with? What's the communication like? So we stop and we think, and this is all just part of maturing and growing up. I think we rather than knee-jerk reaction, just jump into to action. We stop and assess the situation way more carefully now, because these funds that we use to, respond to these natural disasters, they're not unlimited. We don't have some pot of gold that we can just pull money from and say, let's fly the Black Hawk to North Carolina, because flying the Black Hawk to North Carolina, just there and back, like $150,000.
Yeah.
between fuel, maintenance, insurance, all the prorated costs, it's not cheap. And that's before we spend any money on rescue missions. So had we taken the Black Hawk to North Carolina, we would have been at least 150 grand. And the reason why we didn't is because we actually had some other friends that we work with that were able to respond more quickly. Cletus was one of them. Cletus was boots on the ground like the day after it happened. And
I think he flew in with the hurricane.
He sure felt like it. He was there like immediately. And I was texting him immediately like, hey dude, fill me in. What's going on? What do we need? And he's like, it's chaos. I'm doing some missions. And then after the first 12 hours, he hit me up and he's like, all right, things have settled down a little bit. Yeah. I was like, well, do we need to get there? And he's like, just stand down for a minute because I'm still trying to figure out what I'm doing, let alone having you guys show up with more helicopters and equipment. So we did exactly that. We just kind of were on standby and communicated with him over the next couple of days, along with our friend, Aaron out there and our other friend, Trevor. Multiple people were on the ground with helicopters and they were doing some work. But what we found was that there was a lot of volunteers and not a lot to do. And it's not to say that there wasn't a lot to do. It's that there wasn't the logistics and communication in place for missions to actually come together. So when a natural disaster hits, communication goes down and chaos goes up. So it's really hard to figure out what's going on. And then you get, for example, with Helene and Milton, the state and federal agencies stepped in and, there's a lot of conspiracy theories out there. I don't know what to believe. There's always two sides to every story. So it's always kind of a hybrid of what you're hearing versus, the other side of the story is usually the truth somewhere in the middle. So, when you hear about FEMA saying you can't get involved and you hear about federal agencies saying, get out of here. I know that some of that stuff was actually happening. That's like, there's videos of it. But the flip side of that is these disaster coordinators are out there trying to organize this giant shit show. And they're trying to keep all these guys in R-22s from flying around and trying to be heroes. That's the part that
R-22 is a small helicopter.
Yeah.
It's like bringing a bunch of Honda Civics to a disaster.
Yeah, to a mine and trying to move materials. It's and that's what happened actually, because when the disaster happened, a lot of people from all over the place, a lot of people that weren't even in the area,
which good for them for helping.
Yeah, but to a certain extent, they message everybody they know who has a helicopter, every famous person, influencer, celebrity, helicopter company, hey, they need you in North Carolina, get out there. And some of these guys that are less kind of experienced with disaster response, they're like, all right, I'll get there. And I know dudes that flew their helicopters from the West Coast all the way to North Carolina only to show up and just get parked.
Yeah.
And they flew like maybe 2 or 3 missions over the course of 5 days. And their mission was like dropping off a pallet of water bottles to an area where there was nobody to receive them. Yeah. So one thing, I make the R-22 joke because I have a friend who was out there and he's like, dude, it's so frustrating because we're at this airport where there's 50 private helicopters and we're all just sitting around waiting for calls to come in. And then finally a call comes in and these guys that want to help and they want to be involved and they're trying to do their best, literally sprinting to their helicopters, trying to beat the other guys because they want to go fulfill the mission because they want to help, or they, maybe more sinister motives of just wanting to be a hero or get the shot for social media, which, believe it or not, there's people out there that do that. So I say all this because we didn't respond with all of our, heavy guns and equipment and helicopters because it would not have been a great use of time, energy, and resources. Because by the time we would have got out there, all the critical jobs were done, and we would have been sitting around a lot, just like everybody else. It's not to say that we wouldn't have had work to do, because we would have worked hard to find that, but those resources were better saved for another mission.
And we're still having conversations with people there on how to still help.
Yeah,
we're talking
sure.
like big tasks like building new homes and supplying people with roofs and all these things
So now, like in a natural disaster, there's phase 1, which is like just get there and save lives. Everybody, it's kind of like martial law. Every man for himself, do what you can to help. Phase 2 is when the federal and state organizations and agencies step in and they start to do more like, okay, how do we support people over the next 2 or 3 weeks since their house just got washed down the river? And then there's like the phase 3, which is like the actual rebuilding efforts.
Yeah, how do we get these guys a home?
Yeah, how do we rebuild this city and get the sustainable like over the next couple of years? And that's kind of the phase that North Carolina and the whole southeastern United States is in right now, and that is what federal agencies are for. We don't have the resources to go out and be heroes and make any sort of meaningful difference in that, because to get one person a new home, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. So what we do have, though, is we have the ability to stay in touch and work with some of these agencies that are out there that are like, hey, so the rebuilding efforts are happening and we need somebody that can fly in generators, which is a mission that we're actually looking at right now. Get these generators to these different locations. We need a helicopter that has heavy lifting capabilities. And so if that mission comes through, then yeah, we will load up and head that way. But we're going to go there with a mission, with a purpose, with a plan. And it's not just going to be sitting around wasting time and resources and adding to the chaos, which is unfortunately what a lot of people do when they hurry and just rush into a fire. They just add to the chaos. So kind of a word of advice: assess the situation before trying to respond to any of these disasters or problems, because you'll find that it's not as easy as just showing up. Showing up is actually the only easy part about it. Figuring out what to do and how to actually be helpful and not disrupt the flow, because believe it or not, flows do get established relatively quickly, whether it's a private organization or a state or federal agency. They come up with protocols and systems, and they do that to keep the chaos to a minimum, because it's all an already chaotic situation. So that is why, we responded the way that we did to the hurricanes. And I wish we were closer. I wish we could have done what Cletus did and been there within, a few hours. But the fact of the matter is we live in Utah. We're too far away. And sometimes logistics just don't work out. So that kind of gives you guys a updated idea of what we've been doing, what we've been up to. There's a lot more that's going on that I haven't shared, and the reason for that is because we're just going to kind of fill you in as the time is right, rather than giving you a bunch of information. I feel like you're probably already drinking from a fire hose right now. So with that said, we are going to get into some of these messages, and we're going to play it for you and then just give you a response right here. And if the person gives us their name in the message, then we'll obviously leave that in, because that meant that they knew that they were going to be on. But if not, then we'll let them be anonymous. So this first one is from Aaron in Wisconsin.
Hey, Dave. My name's Aaron from Wisconsin. A newer viewer, actually, to the YouTube page. Really love what you guys put out there. I can sit there for hours and watch your videos.
Thanks, Aaron.
But I've got a question. I'm 35 years old, military vet. Disabled military vet, 100% disabled. I have a windfall kind of coming.
Aaron, first of all, thank you for your service.
Yes, sir.
That's rad.
The first thing I'm going to do is pay off all my debt that I do have. And then I want to open up a business or invest in something. What would you guys look into if you had an extra 20, 30K laying around after all is said and done, and you wanted to invest in something, or you wanted to start something? If you were like in my position where you're starting from, a fresh start, what would you do, or your business partners, what would you do? What would you invest in, or what would you start up if you had an extra 20, 30K to start up something? Looking forward to hearing what you guys got to say. Love what you do, and love what you're about. And hopefully you get to my question and answer it. Thanks again, Dave. And again, love what you do. Have a good day. Bye.
All right. Aaron from Wisconsin.
Thank
you for your message. Thank you for your service. Cool, dude. That was a very sincere question. That's the kind of questions that we're looking for. That we can actually respond to that, and I can give you a serious, genuine response.
You say he's mobile or completely immobile?
No, I don't think he's 100% disabled. So that could mean a million different things. Yeah. That could be full paralyzed, quadriplegic, or that could be meaning he was 100% medically discharged, meaning he was no longer able to serve. So for whatever reason, he had to get out of the service.
Makes sense.
So that's a really good question. Sounds like you've had some good fortune and you got some money coming in, whether it's from wherever, doesn't matter. And you're being smart. Obviously, paying off debt is a big thing. And then talking about having a surplus of $20,000, $30,000 kicking around. The first thing I would ask you and tell you to ask yourself is, what are you looking for? Do you need that money? Is that like the only money you have to be able to kind of do your next thing? Like, is this Is this sacred do or die, like it has to make you money? Or are you more looking for, like, if you've got a disability check that's steady and you're able to like continue to have a steady income, and you're looking to do something just to kind of challenge yourself and be excited about, and maybe it's not as critical as like providing, putting food on the table for your family. So figure out what that is, and how risk adverse you can be, meaning if you lost this money, what would that look like? How would that affect you? What would that mean for you and your family? And is it replaceable? And based off of that answer, obviously, if it's something that, if this money is like do or die, it's the only money you're ever going to have to be able to figure something out, and it's what you're going to rely on for your livelihood and your survival, then I would encourage you to pursue something very safe for now, something where you have full control of that money. Meaning I would be very careful who I gave it to. If you're looking to invest in somebody, I would be very careful, because once you give somebody money, it's no matter how bulletproof the contract or agreement is, they can always lose it for you. They can always disappear with it. So be very careful if you're going to invest with somebody. So if you need to live on this money, I would tell you to try to remain in full control of it. I would obviously, I saw something the other day that was very interesting. It talked about like the 10 worst businesses to start right now. And it's funny because it's usually like these businesses are the ones that everybody's talking about, like you should go start. And one of them was like a pressure washing business, and one of them was like a cleaning business, and one of them's like it's like all the businesses that you hear people talking about, like, oh, it's a great side hustle. Well, turns out they're not like the best side hustle. Maybe for some people. But any service, kid, I think a young kid, service-based business is great. But a service-based business is going to be basically you're jumping on the hamster wheel. Mm-hmm. Like you're 100% going to jump into a machine that you're going to have to continue to work for. Food business, same thing. Restaurant business, best way to lose money is to go open a restaurant, from what I understand. And that doesn't go for every restaurant and every person. Every case is a little bit different, but in general, food and restaurants are very low margin. So if I were you, and I, kind of regardless of what my position was, I would take that money and I would go flip stuff. So, Gary Vee talks about this a lot, going to garage sales and stuff like that. And it's not always as easy as he makes it out to be. But if you have knowledge of anything really, whether it's baseball cards or heavy equipment or, power sports or sports memorabilia, whatever, go figure out where you can buy some stuff and turn around and sell it, and start conservative. Buy that, look on Facebook Marketplace or look on a local classified site and see what, Kawasaki 450 dirt bikes are selling for. And if they're selling for $5,000 in your area and you can find one for $2,500 and it just needs some plastic, go grab it. $2,500 plus another $500 in repairs. You're into this thing $3,000. Sell it for $4,500, $5,000. Make yourself. Don't go for like huge wins right off the bat, because unless you're really skilled, it's almost impossible to do. You're never going to just go out and double your money right away on a consistent basis. Yeah. It happens. I'm not saying that it's not possible, but basically go do some market research on what you can buy and then resell. There's a huge market for it. Another thing that you could do, if you obviously aren't too mobile or you can't get out and about and move vehicles and equipment and merchandise around, figure out, there's all kinds of websites that you can use now to figure out what the top selling products are. And you can basically become a drop shipper. You can become a drop shipper, or you can become have your little online store. So you can go to China or Alibaba or whatever and find the best place to buy hot pads, and you buy them for 30 cents and you create an Amazon store and you sell them for $2. Amazon's going to take their cut and you're going to end up with 50 cents of profit per one. That's usually a safe bet, because you can start small. You can go buy 1,000 of something and resell it. So I guess my answer to you would be, find something that you can actually be passionate about and go resell it. And if you're not passionate about anything, you're only passionate about making money, great. Go find the highest margin, safest product you can and figure out a way to sell it over and over and over again. And it's really easy, especially with AI. If you're not using AI, guys, you should be, because AI, you can literally ask it to build you a brand, an online store, agreements, everything, and it'll do it all within minutes.
I was thinking today, is there a way that your AI and my AI, we could get in like a group chat together because we're just sending each other screenshots of our AI conversations.
Hold on.
As in, like,
You might have just come up with a really good idea.
it's $20,000. What's the guy's name?
This is Aaron.
Aaron, $20,000. You can join this because, dude, I want to like. We were talking today, starting a business, and we're like talking about what the name should be.
It's a great
And
idea.
I'm sending you the screenshot of my AI conversation. You're sending me yours. And I was like, why can't we just link our?
Put our AIs in a group chat.
Yeah.
So I know that AI, ChatGPT just released a new feature that's like it's like a collab feature, and what
Yeah.
it does is it kind of works like Google Docs. So you can get in there. ChatGPT is amazing, by the way. Everybody should have it on their desktop, and you should be using it regularly. Even if you're not using it for business, just get familiar with it because it's not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. It's only going to become
It is
more and
so
more
awesome.
more prominent.
And
So-
it's free. There's a free version.
with the collaborate feature, you can get a doc going and you can be adding to it, and ChatGPT will sit there and add to it with you. As you make changes, it'll say, you changed that. Maybe we should add this. Or to keep the sentence structure, and it'll sit there and it's like you have an editor reading over your shoulder, watching with you.
I'm married. I already have that.
Well, this is going to be a little bit more accurate than JC. Bless her soul. We love you, JC.
I was just that's
Dude, that's a great idea. Put like a group chat for AIs.
yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably somebody's gonna probably like, oh, you can just hit this button and it does it.
Yeah,
but
dumb guys, it's just the plus sign in the corner.
If that's a fact and that actually works, but yeah, start using ChatGPT. This would be my second, part to the answer here, which is a very long answer, by the way. But as you can tell, we're passionate about it. Start using AI regularly. Get familiar with it, dude. What's crazy about ChatGPT is it gets to know you, like based off of the things that you ask it and all your interactions with it, and I'm sure it's listening to everything I'm saying too.
Oh yeah.
But that thing I sent you the other day,
Yeah.
I saw somebody said, put this prompt into ChatGPT, and it was, tell me something about me that I might not know about myself. And the response that I got was like the most heartfelt, like deep, like nobody that I know could have given me that response. I mean,
Mine
close
just
friends
said
and family-
diabetic. That's all mine said is
Dude, it knows my kids' names. Like
Yeah.
at bedtime, I'll be like, "Hey, can you tell a bedtime story for my son?" And the first time I did this, it was like, "Okay, I'm gonna tell you a story about a young boy named Mac." Like it remembered that I said my son's name was
Yeah,
Mac at
that's
some point
wild.
early on, and it tells the coolest stories. It's terrifying, and I'm sure it's harvesting information like crazy. So
Yeah.
I'm careful to not give it like social security numbers and
Well-
birthdays and stuff like that. But ultimately that stuff's out there. So proceed with caution, but you can build a solid business literally in a matter of minutes by just using AI.
Yeah.
But you got to learn how to use it, and it's getting better and easier to work with. You don't have to know as like direct prompts anymore. It can kind of understand what you're thinking and where you're going. But you could really turn that $20,000-$30,000 into a pretty good surplus if you just take it and buy and sell stuff. That's just be your own boss, and don't just be very, 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 very careful of investment opportunities, because the more money an investment is guaranteeing you, like if somebody's coming to you offering you like a 10, 15, 20% return, just know that like the flip side of that is there's like an 80 to 90% chance of you not getting your money back. So it's like take the 100% and then whatever the percentage they're offering you, that's usually what the odds of you getting your money back are. They keep on going down the more it goes up. So next question, we're going to move on to, this guy's, we'll just play it.
Hey, what's up, guys? My name is, I don't know if I should keep it anonymous or not, but let's call myself Joe Piscopo.
Joe Piscopo.
I really dig your
He laughs,
content.
too.
I've been following you guys for almost forever, since you guys were building diesel trucks and all that. I would love to watch like the day in life of you guys, more, because I don't think you guys haven't done one yet. Like the day in life of your life, your routine. What do you do? Stay fit, healthy, eating, whatever you do, or anybody. So yeah, that's all it's not a concern, but I think in, what do you call it, an opinion or a suggestion. So yeah. All right, guys. God bless you guys. Thanks, man.
Okay.
We've done like one of those.
Yeah, we've done.
But that was years ago.
Yeah, so that's one thing we've actually been talking about, guys, is Hans has been pushing really hard for us to do kind of like a daily vlog. And for me, that is such a weird concept because
I can't get this guy to stick to a schedule. Like
I don't,
within the hour, it's like, hey, in 10 minutes, can you just still be sitting in this chair you're sitting in right now?
Probably not. I just have really high standards for myself when it comes to like what's cool and what's entertaining and what's interesting. I like my daily life. While it is probably very interesting to some people, I don't feel like it's that interesting, and so I can't get super passionate about it. But it's something that we're gonna try here soon. Cletus does this. He'll do the month of freedom or whatever, where he'll vlog every single day. And I gotta take it a little easier on myself because even like a regular day for us is usually a pretty spectacular day. And so the answer to your question, Joe Piscopo, that's definitely. You're in witness protection for sure. Yeah, we're gonna try it. We're gonna try a little bit more. I don't know if it's gonna be daily or what, but we will try to give you guys glimpses into like literally from the minute we wake up, which is really hard for me to do because my mornings are my mornings. I don't let anybody in on my mornings. That's my time to like kind of like reboot and figure out what planet I'm on, and I've got a routine and stuff like that I do. But I like to share that stuff because really, the whole reason we started this podcast is to share things that I like and that we like and that work for us. It's called the Heavy Checklist for a reason because you're literally just keeping a list of different things that work for us. And that list is always changing, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not always the exact same things. It's okay to have your routine change as long as you change it with like a purpose, and it's not happening to you. You're making it happen type of situation. And that's where if you ever feel out of control in your life, take a look at your situation and kind of just make a list of all the things that are happening to you and all the things that you're making happen. It's pretty incredible what you'll find. A lot of people will find that a lot of their life is happening to them, meaning other people and circumstances and things are controlling your life, which leaves you not very much time to control your own life. It's pretty wild.
But what do you tell somebody that's working like a 9 to 5 at McDonald's?
Well, that's part of your life.
Everything. That's
part of their life. I mean, they're gonna have to just accept that for what it is. But what are they doing outside of those hours? And what is the risk if they were to say, you know what, I'm not gonna work there anymore. I'm either A, gonna find a new job, or B, go work for myself, or C, I'm not gonna work anymore. I'm just gonna go travel. We've all had that friend who's always on a side quest. Just you never know where he's at. He's in any part of the world at any given time, and he's working odd jobs, washing dishes to be able to pay for his next flight. Yeah. That's, I mean, like the nomad life. There's something to be said for it. Some of the happiest people I've ever met are people that have no like obligations. Now that doesn't work if you have family and commitments and things like that. But if you're working 9 to 5 at McDonald's, then yes, your job is happening to you for 8 hours a day. But that's only part of your day. What are you doing with the rest of your time?
That's what's crazy about social media now is you see more of the nomad life and people making something of it because they're able to make money off of social media.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Anybody like
I think you can do anything these days and make money off it. Like the guy about if I have $20,000, how do I make money or start a business? Literally, you talking about your passion. Like that, I follow these guys on TikTok. Their passion is watches. Their business now is buying and selling watches. They had nothing. They had like $5,000, bought their first watch, flipped it, sold it, whatever. Right, but it's just their passion, and because of social media the way it is now, you can make everything a business.
Well, you used to have some sort of like something special about you to become an influencer or a social media personality.
Now it's just knowledge.
Go to TikTok.
Have knowledge.
If you can literally talk to a camera and you have knowledge, you can be an influencer. So don't overthink it. If you like, for those of you who want to, influencer is such a terrible word because it's like micro influencers. You're basically kind of creating communities online. TikTok's a great example of this. You can go find the craziest niches about guys that just talk about watches and they make money by, views and by buying and selling watches. So if you're passionate about something, you can make money with it. Just start talking about it and start filming yourself. That's really the hardest part about it. So, that we kind of got away from the original question there from Joe Piscopo, but Joe, you'll see, and you guys tell us if you guys want to see, like, if you're actually interested in seeing more of kind of our nitty gritty lives and not like the big recoveries and the big rescue missions and that kind of stuff, but like
Maybe explain what that does to your channel. Like, let's say the viewers are like, why doesn't Dave just do a day in the life of? It's not going to get any views. That doesn't affect him. It's just free money anyways, right?
It's not. So yeah,
Because part of it is like we want to always put out good content and get good views.
so the way that we get paid on ads and the way we get paid in AdSense is based off of kind of like average views of recent videos. So if we have a sponsor come to us, which they always approach us, we never approach anybody, they'll look at our last, month or two worth of views and they'll take an average and they'll be like, okay, these guys are getting 1 million or 2 million views per video. We can allocate whatever budget for them, and they'll have these set budgets that they work with based off of how many views you get. If they go look at the past, month worth of videos, and I was doing daily vlogs and only getting like a couple 100,000 views per video, then they're going to see lower views per video, lower watch time. It's going to be a higher quantity over the course of a month. But this is what Roman does. Roman Atwood used to get like 5-10 million views on every single video that he did, and he was daily vlogging.
King of it.
He was the king of it. This is back when like there wasn't very many people. There weren't many options on YouTube. It was like just a handful of OG creators.
He like brought Logan Paul into the scene. Everybody came to Roman Atwood first.
So then he took a 5-10 year break. He took a long break and got back on YouTube recently. Now he's doing daily vlogs again, like every single day. And he's not doing the pranks and the crazy over the top stuff. He's just showing dad life and business owner life, and he owns a laundromat and a tanning salon and he loves it. But he's only getting like 200,000 or 300,000 views a video, which when I say only, that's still great numbers, but it's not 5 to 10 million views. So really the creator just has to look at like, okay, what's my long-term play here? And what I don't like to do for me personally is I don't like to have these big banger videos that are like, 1 million, 2, 3, 4 million views. And then all of a sudden there's like a weird like daily vlog in the middle of those.
Yeah.
So it's almost like you have to create a second channel, and creating a second channel is way more work than you realize. We have a behind the scenes channel, by the way, guys. Like behind the scenes is kind of like just extra footage. It's the stuff, let's say when we trim the fat from a video, it's all that goes to live there. And there's a crazy amount of you that really love that stuff. So if you ever want to check that out, it's heavydsparks BTS on YouTube. Look it up. There's we're not super consistent, but we also it's not like we never post on there. There's some good stuff on there. But it's something we're playing with. And I like Cletus's model where you prepare your viewers for it. So it's like, hey guys, this week or this month, I'm going to go hard every single day. And that allows me to make sure that like I've got at least something to show you, because some days me responding to emails, like there's days where I just sit in my office and do administrative work. You don't want to see that. Nobody wants to see that. So you got to make sure that there's a little bit of planning that goes into it, because we really do try to deliver like the best possible product to you, and make it so that I like to have kind of a one size fits all type mentality with our content, meaning a 5-year-old kid could watch it, or they could watch it with their 85-year-old grandma, and they could both be entertained in some way or another. So I try to make it family friendly. I try to make it so that anybody, man, woman, from any demographic, any ethnic background, you can relate to it. And that's kind of what our content does, because it's very it's relatable in a lot of different ways, and then it's totally unrelatable in other ways. Like you can't just go jump in your Blackhawk, most people, but you can see a guy that you relate to, which I believe a lot of you do relate to us and me, and you see me jump into my Blackhawk and you feel like you're almost there with us.
Yeah,
that's why our content works. I believe it's relatable but also exotic, but not exotic in like a Mr. Beast type of way where it's like, oh, I could never do that. I can't buy 10 hamburger stores and give them away. Like that's just it's a totally different story. All right, next message. Let's see. Eddie.
Hey, Dave. My name's Eddie. I'm from Long Beach, California. I'm curious. I've tried to look online and find any info. I'm curious to know what happened to Legion tires. I run a set on my truck, and I actually really like them. But there's no really telling what happened to them. If you can, give me a call back, 562-833-0635. Thanks.
Okay. That is a very good question. Legion tires, man.
Where to begin?
In 2014, I started building trucks like really aggressively. We went from like, we got out of the just the commercial heavy equipment stuff that we'd been selling, and we started building like custom trucks. It was more like 2012, but 2014 is when we really started cooking. And I got tired of buying tires. I just got so sick and tired of buying Toyos and having them wear out every 10,000 or 20,000 miles because the truck wasn't aligned or whatever. And so I was like, you know what? It'd be so cool to develop a tire that had a cool tread pattern and that had a cool brand and that was more of a firm rubber compound, because I come from the heavy equipment and medium duty truck world where, you know, we expect tires to last 50, 60, 70,000 miles at least on, you know, heavy duty trucks. You know, a lot of guys are getting way more than that. So I thought, why don't we just use a heavier rubber compound and see what we can come up with? And so we did. The first tire company that we came up with was called Patriot Tires. I loved the brand. The minute I thought of it, I was like, boom, this is it. Now, for a young startup tire company to make tires in the United States is pretty much impossible. Believe me, I tried. So we ended up having to I called every tire company, emailed every tire company, and the only one that got back to me was the one that we went with, and that was Federal Tires out of Taiwan. So Patriot Tires made in Taiwan, that was everybody's first like, what's going on here? But the goal was always to have an American, for sure American designed, and a tire that was built for America. And then eventually we wanted to make that tire in America somehow, but we had to start somewhere. Patriot Tires, we kicked it off, got that, you know, firm rubber compound. We launched them and it went bananas. People just loved it. We were selling the crap out of these tires. Our partner, who was actually Federal Tires at the time, was like, this is the greatest thing in the world. You guys are awesome. We'll do whatever you guys need. You know, new sizes, new tread patterns, just keep killing it. And we were absolutely crushing it until one day we got a letter from a guy named GS Serene. He is the owner of a company called Omni Incorporated. Omni is a giant tire company based out of basically all over the place, but Singapore is one of their main locations. And they apparently had the trademark for a tire called Patriot Tire. It was like Patriot. It was like Radar. Right? I think it was Radar Tires, and Patriot was the model name. And so our company was Patriot, and we were selling the Torque MTs. And they basically sent us a cease and desist, and they had so much money and so many lawyers and so much firepower that we were completely outgunned. We went out and
tire like a small spare tire, like a small car tire.
Yeah, it wasn't a truck tire at all. It wasn't even one they were selling. It was just a name reservation that they had. They weren't even selling these tires. They were just. It's almost like they were waiting for somebody to come out with this, and they hit us with a cease and desist. And we met with them, and we tried so hard to save it, and ultimately we're not able to come to a deal with them. And they, it's the worst. They took our Patriot Tires. They took our Patriot Tire name, and then they went to Federal and took our tread patterns because we couldn't make them anymore. And they bought our molds, and they started selling Patriot Tires. And you'll see them like it's a cheap, like it's not the tire that we built. It's just a regular, you know, overseas Chinese tire or whatever that we're no longer involved with. So they took our really cool product that we were really proud of, and they just ended up kind of making it their own. So that really took the wind out of our sails. But then we're like, you know what? We still got the TV show. We're gonna try this again. We're gonna you know, crank a new tire company out. So at this point, we had been able to partner up with Cooper Tires. Now, Coopers are made here in the United States. So we finally had the ability to make a made in the USA tire with a great compound, the great tread pattern, everything that we were proud of. But I was like still pretty deflated with the whole Patriot thing, because that was like my baby. And then we came up with this new name, which was Legion. And honestly, I never liked it from the beginning. Legion was it just didn't never work for me. And it's because I was comparing it to Patriot, right? Yeah. So Patriot was such a strong brand for me, and it was like my baby. So Legion Tires, we kicked off. Cooper did an incredible job. They took a huge risk on us, made molds for us, made in the USA, got a bunch of tires cranking, and then it just kind of fizzled out, like for whatever reason. And I think it was probably because, there's a lot of different reasons. Tire business is really hard. Having tires made in the US was really hard because the price went way up. So our price point kind of got a little crazy compared to where we were before. Our tread pattern wasn't as exciting as it originally was. The brand definitely wasn't as exciting as it originally was. And we had some people, it was kind of like a partnership with a bunch of different people. That partnership kind of fell apart, and it just kind of the perfect storm of all bad things happened. So Legion, we ended up closing down in like 2019, probably right around COVID. 2020 is when we just couldn't do it anymore. Everything was shutting down, and that's actually a good example of one of the many businesses that COVID claimed. It wiped it out. That was like the final death blow for us. We just couldn't keep it up. Shipping was damn near impossible. We were trying to ship tires all over the country. And then working with dealerships or, distributors and stuff like that, it just got really hard. But ultimately, I think what really killed it was the fact that the initial death blow to Patriot tires, really, if I'm not excited about something, is really hard for it to be successful. And everybody who has ever worked with me knows that. Yep. If I'm not passionate about it, you can pretty much just put a timer on it. Eventually it's going to die.
And you can read it on your face. If you bring up an idea, it's, yeah.
I was never excited about Legion.
No.
I was never, that brand always just felt like a second place to me from the original brand. So to answer your question, Legion Tires is no longer around. We still have some random inventory kicking around here and there. The tire business is something that I learned the hard way. I've always thought like, should I get back in it? I don't think I'm going to. It's a hard way to make money. Because you have to deal with huge expenses and the margins aren't crazy good, and you're at the mercy of so many different things like the cost of rubber and the manufacturer who's making them for you, because to go start a tire factory is you're gonna have billions of dollars to do that. And then the transportation, the fuel, like if fuel goes up, all of a sudden your cost to deliver tires to somebody triples. There's too many variables that are out of your control and too many hard costs that I've just learned that there's easier ways to make money. And you can go to China right now and you can get them to make you the fiddlefuck MT and it's gonna be you can put a cat on the sidewall and some crazy dinosaur claws for the tread pattern, and you can get those things made pretty cheap, but it's not gonna be a good tire. It's not gonna last very long. It's not gonna be something that you're proud of, and for me and for my guys and the way that we operate, it's just not something we wanted to do unless we could do it 100% the right way. So that's the sad story of Patriot and Legion tires. I hate telling that story.
Just so we're clear, there's been only adults sitting here, right? Because there is gum shoved underneath this table like I'm at a middle school desk right now.
You know whose seat
Keaton.
that is? That's Keaton's seat.
The most childish. He would just stick his gum underneath here.
1,000% Keaton.
Unbelievable.
All right, next up, we've got... Here we go. We're going to get you guys... I realize that we're already about an hour 20 in here, so... We will probably only go for about an hour and a half, try to be respectful of your time. Again, a little bit long-winded sometimes, but we enjoy this. I really enjoy this. I love being able to get your guys' thoughts and some of these questions and things that come through. I'm like, holy, people still think about that? I didn't know that people still even really thought about Legion tires because I've just put that memory.
Done my best to forget about
Yeah, we've tried really hard to forget about it. So thanks for the painful reminder. It's fun to reminisce sometimes. All right, next question.
Hey guys, hope everything's all good, all well. Appreciate everything you guys do. I'm just curious, how do you guys deal with people not appreciating how much work you guys put into getting all of the cool toys, the cool experiences, the beautiful houses that you guys have? I've got big dreams, big vision board that I listen to, and just curious as to how you deal with people not appreciating that or understanding how much effort actually goes into obtaining those goals and how that reflects in your guys' lives. So let me know. Thanks, guys.
All right. You are asking the wrong guy that question. And the reason I say that is because I genuinely don't care what people think about me.
Does not give a rat's.
I don't care. I'm the opposite of most people where I don't post things for validation. I don't post things for approval. I don't post stuff on my Instagram or whatever because I want people to think that it's cool, or think that I'm cool because of it. If I post something, it's because I think it's really cool, and I think other people might think it's cool, not because it makes me cool. It's because I'm excited about what it is.
I watched this guy jump on like a $60 million jet the other day and fly to Arizona in a whim. Nobody knew that. The only reason I knew that is because I had to help book it.
I fly private a lot, and you'd never know.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
Everybody, I was watching everybody was on the plane. They all had their phones out, getting their stories, whatever. Sparks literally, I think, was on a call, just walking on the plane.
Yeah. I'm wired a little bit differently that way. And when I say that I don't care what people think, I genuinely mean that like it's a blessing and a curse, because it's a blessing in a lot of ways because I don't require external validation. It's a curse because it's hard on relationships sometimes, because if you don't like me, or if I've done something to offend you and you're mad at me, the same still applies. I'm like, nah, okay, like get over it. And so that's something I'm constantly working on, is trying to, like, the people whose opinion matters to me, and the people who matter to me most, if the way they feel about me is important, and I'm learning how to like work that angle rather than just being so indifferent all the times, because it's not something that I have to try to do to try to not care. It's just in me. So it's something that I have to be aware of, because it's definitely been hard on relationships throughout my life, because again, I can just disconnect from situations and from people so quickly. Like, my greatest superpower sometimes is apathy. I can just, like, if you burn me, I'm not gonna, like, very rarely will I pursue somebody who takes advantage of me. I just forget that they exist. Now if they really piss me off, then I'll burn their whole life to the ground. But it's very few and far between that actually happens. But I think to go to your question, what drives you, right? So you're talking about you got big dreams, big vision board, all that kind of stuff, and how you're asking, how do we deal with people not appreciating or not understanding? Now I can relate to your question of understanding, because my whole life I felt very misunderstood, and it's because I'm not great at communicating. So how can people understand me if I don't communicate how I'm feeling, right? That's a very obvious thing. But for me, communication has always been one of those things where people who work with me best just learn how to kind of read my energy and learn how to predict me. Hans, bless his heart, I've given the kid, like, I've taken at least 45 years off your life.
Yeah, I'm set to go here in the next 10, 15 years for sure.
But he's learned how to kind of like know how to anticipate my next move and see what's coming next. But
I had an employee come up to us. One of our oldest employees comes up to me yesterday, and he's like, "Hey man, read this text from Dave. I don't know how to take this." And it was as nice as this. It was, "Nice, good work." And they're like, "Is he mad at me?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
No, if I send you a nice good work, that's like 100%.
I'm like, I'd take that as a great compliment.
Bro, the fact that they
You
got
got
a
a
response.
response.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have this bad thing where I respond in my head a lot. I'll look at a message and be like, yeah, like, good, thanks, man. That was awesome. I'm so glad they did that. But then I'm like, wait, I got to actually tell a person that. Like, that's a big, it's a struggle that I have sometimes.
Well,
but
when you get 400 texts a day, it's hard.
You get a lot of messages. It gets really hard to keep up. But I think what you need to do, I'm not sure if you gave us your name. I don't think you did. Let's take a step backwards and try to figure out why you do what you do. If you are doing what you do for external validation, your vision board, your goals, your dreams, your aspiration, if those are things that you have set because you believe that other people will think you're cool or amazing or successful because you have them, you got to rewire your brain. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that.
No.
I've seen so many people, including close friends, who are constantly seeking validation through external methods, and you never get it. It's like filling a cup that has no bottom. You're just always pouring into it. You're always pouring into it. You're always trying to find the next thing that you can do that people will think you're special. When the reality is you're already damn special. You just have to realize it. And the minute you realize it, all of a sudden you get this sense of peace and calm. That's why I don't post flying private. I will sometimes if it's like something really cool, like a plane that I'm excited about, or with a group of people that I'm really excited about. Yeah, I'll post it. But I actually hide a lot of the stuff that I do because I don't like to share that kind of stuff. All it does is make me a bigger target. I'm a little jaded too, because anytime I post something nice or neat or cool or expensive, people try to like sue me for it. So I try to like avoid that. But ultimately, the appreciation that you're looking for is internal. You need to appreciate and savor and really celebrate those wins yourself. And as you do that, what's going to happen is it's going to make you a different flavor of person. You're going to become a person that people want to be around because you're naturally confident. Because if you like yourself, genuinely like appreciate yourself and your ambitions and your aspirations and your accomplishments, if you really are like damn proud of that, it shows. People see that. People know that. People pick up on that, right? You can tell somebody who's like sincerely validated themselves versus external validation.
Well, and it's not only that, it's the people that are negative towards you or saying these things, like what role do they really play in that vision board?
None. They
They have zero role, zero reason to be a part of that. Like, I get it. Some people, their parents might say something like, oh, that's a fun joke, or that's a fun thing like to have on a vision board. You'll never get it because we're from a small town or whatever. Like, yeah, that stuff could be frustrating, but the people that are just negative online or whatever, like, they have no place in.
No. And the problem is, well, they have no place, but if you give them a place, that's where people start to become stuck in this perpetual cycle of looking for validation and looking for approval. And again, it's this bottomless cup. You're never going to be able to fill it because it's not real. Now, there's a flip side to this that I do want to talk about. I have a really, really hard time when I feel like people are ungrateful. So it kind of goes to the appreciation thing. If I feel like people don't appreciate something that I've done for them or something that they have, I have a really hard time with that, because it's like, to me, that's like the ultimate form of like, kind of like just unhappiness.
Well, and your love language, I think, is like giving.
Right.
So
But
like for you to go out and do a big event for somebody and for them not to say something back, it's like, oh, kind of a kick to the sack.
And they don't even have to say something. I can just tell if somebody like, if somebody's genuinely like grateful, you can just tell.
Right.
And some people express it all sorts of different ways. Some people say it. Some people you can just pick up on it.
Yeah.
There's ways that you can know. But what drives me crazy is when I do something for someone and they don't even acknowledge the fact that it was me that helped make that happen.
Right.
And they think that it just happened to them. Like that frustrates me sometimes. And you're right, because it probably goes back to my love language of I like to give gifts. It's a big deal for me because I came from nothing. I came from a world where I wasn't given a lot of gifts. Like that wasn't something that I had. So when somebody gave me something, I was like, wow, like this is big, because something that I couldn't do. I think my ultimate form of like gratification is doing something for somebody that they can't do for themselves.
The whole thing, when you told me the other day, after you gave my family and a bunch of other families riding the Black Hawk, I mean, it worked for 10 years. My family never rode any helicopter. They finally rode the Black Hawk, and your whole thing is like, my whole goal in life is to be able to afford a life to where I can fly people around and give them that experience, because they won't get it anywhere else.
Really is. That's what drives me. What drives me now at this phase of my life and moving forward is providing experiences for people, and again, doing things for them that they would never be able to do for themselves. And sometimes that means like putting a roof over their head, and other times it means taking them for a helicopter ride.
Bro, there's people, A-list celebrities you've hung out with that you've done stuff for that they'll never experience again.
Yeah, that's one thing that and again, blessing and a curse, because I can't do anything half-ass. I like to go all in. So I'm constantly thinking of like really cool things that I can, let people be a part of. And fortunately, my life is such that we do just a lot of really cool stuff that, I mean, how many times have we been on a vlog or doing something where we're like, is this real?
Oh, yeah.
Like, are we really doing this? Like, are we really driving stadium super trucks around Bristol Motor Speedway? Like, this is our job. How are we doing this? And so being able to, the first thing that comes to my mind when I experience something cool is how many people and how quickly can I share this with somebody?
Right.
How many people can I get here? How can I do this for somebody else? And that sounds like I'm like tooting my own horn, but it's not, because it's more selfish motives, I guess, because it gives me so much gratification. It just happens that other people benefit from it as well, right? Like I do things for other people because that's my sincerest form of like self-fulfillment. And I think that's how God meant us to be. Like, right? Like
Yeah.
provide for other people, fulfill other people in ways that they can't for themselves. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's just, that's my form of fulfillment. What about you? You like watches? You like cars?
I obviously, but
It doesn't mean that you do it for other people. I think for you have something to prove to yourself. If I had to dissect you, I
Yeah.
would say you were the poor scrapyard kid who grew up going to resource, and it's like you hold yourself to a standard where it's like fourth grade hands,
bro,
in fourth grade wouldn't have been able to accomplish that.
yeah. No, I was talking to my family about this the other day. Bro, we were at Mar-a-Lago, whether you politics stand, whatever it is. We were at Mar-a-Lago the other night having dinner with Trump there. Like, I don't think anyone else from Idaho's ever done that.
Probably not.
And like,
Not the way that we did it.
yeah. I'm sure.
We'll get into the Trump stuff here soon as well. It's probably gonna be a separate podcast, but we have kind of like a close relationship with Trump now, and we've been able to see a side of Trump that was really cool. And this kid from Idaho got plopped in Trump's like private living room and had his private chef make him a meal that wasn't on the schedule.
Yeah,
This wasn't like a charity thing.
Yeah. So I don't know, it's just more for me. It's just like everything's just eye opening. Everything's just
Well, you've got a standard that you can hold yourself to.
yeah,
Your standard that you grew up with,
right.
versus what you can accomplish, and
Right.
you know that like you've been able to accomplish certain things that people in Idaho have never been able to accomplish.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, how far can I push this?
Well, and it's always like look back to where you were last year and where you're at now. You know, you'd be pumped to be where you're at.
1,000%.
You know,
But that's the ticket right there. Hold yourself, like look at those benchmarks and don't forget them. That's true gratitude.
right?
Look back at the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and be like, okay, I've done some really cool things.
Right.
I've been able to accomplish this. I've been like, and celebrate those moments, but then also stay hungry if you want to. If you're satisfied with that, then great. Then you've lived a great life. But if you want to continue to chase those things, you're chasing them for yourself, because you know that you are, if you're capable of having a private dinner with Trump, what else can you do?
Right.
You're
Yeah.
probably capable of taking one of the next SpaceX ships to the moon.
Yeah.
Right?
No comfort in growing zone. No growing in a comfort zone.
100%.
That's just where I'm at.
It's true. Yeah. If you're comfortable, take a good look around, because it may mean that you've stopped growing for a minute.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Every single time that I get comfortable, I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah. This isn't right.
this isn't right. And for me, it's almost always self-destructive. Like it just gets to the point where it's like, nope, I got to continue to challenge myself, which is why
And then he hops on Chat GPT. He's got another business logo, another group chat going.
I love challenging myself. I love pushing myself to the limits and seeing what I can do, because again, I was the same as you growing up. I was in resource. I was the kid that like, I was really smart, but I just didn't apply myself.
Yeah.
And so I've always tried to figure out like what my fuel is. And my fuel is like challenges, like being able to do things that on paper I shouldn't be able to do.
Right.
My background, my upbringing, I shouldn't be able to be where I am. That's why I think my family loves watching my life, because it's probably like a TV show. It was a TV show, but it's like this constant like, what's he gonna do next? Where's he gonna go? And to be honest with you, a lot of times I don't know. But I've created a life where I've got so much momentum that the next, like, I didn't pursue the relationship with Trump at all, right?
Yeah.
I haven't pursued.
We stopped the relationship at one point.
Yeah, that's right. We pulled back because we're just like, all right, this is too much hassle. And then all of a sudden it's like, here, let us make it easier for you.
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, guys.
So how do you kind of find that down to like 2 sentences to answer this guy's question? Because I feel like we just went around the globe twice.
We did go around the globe twice. Stop and do some serious self-reflection on what exactly you're asking. Are you asking because you are concerned about other people's validation, meaning you feel validated by when people give you the thumbs ups and the likes and the hey, you did it, congratulations, or hey, cool car, hey, cool house, and what that actually means for you, and then compare that to what those things actually mean to yourself, and figure out which one's more important. And I'm not saying that other people's validation and approval is a bad thing, because we all do it. It's just, you got to make sure that it's a secondary kind of a fuel for you. People's validation is got to be one of those things where it's nice, it's cool, it's like an indicator that you're on the right track.
Yeah.
But don't let that be the whole track. Don't hop from one validation to the next to the next to the next.
I said 2 sentences. You're like 46.
It's hard. It's a hard thing to answer, but it's yeah. That's the
No,
shortest
you
answer I
nailed
can
it.
give you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Shortest answer I can give you. All right, we're going to give you guys another one. We're going to play 1 or 2 more here. I said we'd be done an hour and a half, but we're not. Here we are. We're still going. That's because
We're still recording.
the reason why I do podcasts is because it's really enjoyable for me to be able to sit here and kind of like just let my thoughts come out, because rarely do I have conversations like this because I never slow down enough to be able to sit here and be forced to stick in front of a microphone and like process thoughts. And so that's why I podcast again for selfish reasons. Sometimes I know that it benefits a lot of people. We've had a lot of comments and people reach out and say that, you know, the podcast has changed their life.
You text me at 6 o'clock and asked him to podcast at 6:30. That's how much.
But it's been
heads
on-
up in this
it's
guy.
been-
Like,
it's
this
been
guy's
on my
just like,
mind.
we just gotta go.
Yeah, that's where I have to do things. I have to do things. I have this new mantra that I live by, that I've been trying to live by, and it's really hard, but it's really, really, really powerful and really good. And it's do it now. Just
That's
do it
Nike.
now.
Nike actually.
No, that's
came
just
up-
do it.
Oh.
But actually, sometimes in my head when I'm telling myself this, I get it mixed up. I've literally had the same conversation with myself. I'm like, just do it. And I'm like, wait, no, it's Nike. I'm like, no, do it now. But it's incredible what'll happen if you just do it now.
Yeah.
Like I got to the point where I love ice baths. I do them all the time. But I got like to the point where I was like just so in charge of my own schedule, my own destiny, that I'll just dip my feet in and just kind of like, that's my ice bath, or I'll dip my face in. And I got to the point where I was like half-assing so many things.
Yeah.
And so I said, you know what? Do it now. And like, I have to be very careful, because if I tell myself do it now, there's no room. There's no wiggle room. There's no wiggle room for my do it now. It is absolutely 1000% do it now. And even if it's something that I really don't want to do, I don't pull that trigger unless I know that I can actually like, fulfill the agreement with myself. But the thing that I'm doing is I'm rebuilding trust with myself. And it's something we always have to do throughout our whole life. You have to rebuild trust with yourself, because if you start to slip on little things, next thing you know, the inch that you slipped turns into 6 inches.
Yeah.
And then it turns into a foot. And then all of a sudden you realize that you're not doing anything really well. You're just kind of getting through life the easiest path of least resistance. And what that does sometimes is
Get back to that comfort zone.
you get back in your comfort zone, and then you're not doing anything beneficial. You're not growing. So do it now is a very powerful thing. In fact, I'm going to give that as a checklist item today, guys. Hit yourself with make an agreement with yourself right now that if you tell yourself, do it now, if you have a hard time waking up, if you can't get out of bed on time, if you can't get to the gym, if you can't eat right, if you can't, whatever it is that you're struggling with, make an agreement with yourself that when you say do it now, you do it now. And I'm telling you right now, when I first came up with this, I actually saw, it was like an old personal development video that I saw kicking around, and the guy was talking about this. I was like, I'll give that a try. That resonates with me. When I heard it, when you hear something, you're like, that sounds right.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll give it a try. It's spirit, whatever it is. Within the first 3 or 4 agreements and promises that I kept to myself, I was like, holy shit, this is powerful. Like, I was leaps and bounds ahead of where I was the day before or the week before, because I just kept a couple of promises to myself. And what that does is it creates an incredible amount of momentum. And when you keep doing it, the momentum, like a guy like me, a week of momentum for me is like 5 years of momentum for most other people, because I can just take big steps because I'm too stupid to calculate risk and understand what could potentially happen if things went, not the way that I planned. But in my world, things just, they can't go the way that I'm planning them. Like, they can't not go that way. They always have to go the way that I'm planning. And that's the confidence that I have in myself. And when I prove it to myself over and over again, dude, it's a powerful tool. So do it now.
There's this thing that I joke about with a lot of Dave's and I's like mutual friends. Dave comes like once a week with something new that changes his life.
Oh yeah.
And now it's do it now.
Let's do it now.
Changed my life. Dude,
Do it.
That's like his thing. He'll
Do it
say
now.
something.
I've been on it.
Changed
for a
my
minute.
life.
It did
Ice
change my
baths
life.
changed my life.
Yep. Colostrum changed my life.
This guy,
All
he
these
has
different
something
things.
new all the time, but I can honestly say he's the only guy I know that works on himself every day, all day long. And it's a good thing. Like, it's in a good way.
Yeah. The closest I've ever been to depression was when I realized that I wasn't doing that. I wasn't working on myself. I wasn't growing like that.
Right.
And it's really like, for a guy like me, you can fall real fast because I know what success tastes like and I know what complacency feels like. And they're very distinct feelings. All right, next up.
Hey, Dave. My name's Scott. I run a small business
Scott's
out of
better.
Chicago, Illinois. I've had some issues with, employees leaving and whatnot.
Before I proceed, I got to tell you, employees is a real tender spot for me.
I thought he was trying to sell us insurance for a second.
He might still be.
The voice came over like, I'm here to sell you.
We
a
got
little
another
bit of car
40 minutes
insurance.
of this 40 seconds of this message, so he might be selling us something. But employees, Scott, before you even proceed, I don't know what else you're going to say.
So rough.
I feel your pain. Employees have been one of the greatest sources of contention and frustration in my life. Like, hands down, bar none. And I've employed a lot of people. Proceed.
My main manager left me and tried to start a competitive company against me and cause a lot of issues within my organization. I wondered how you guys have dealt with all this negative energy in the past and how you guys move on from it and how you figure out how to redirect your team and get more positive energy and, everybody moving forward in a positive direction with, per se, haters on the outside. Thanks.
Scott, listen, brother, I feel your pain. Employees are extremely frustrating, especially as a small business owner, because we spend, as an owner, we spend so much time and energy and money and everything else into trying to get people. I mean, employees is like recruiting people for your cause. And it's really, really difficult to find people that actually can see your goal and your vision and then execute on it and then stick with it. So there's, different phases of employees. There's A, getting to know you and making sure that like you're a good fit, right? Finding somebody who's even interested in helping you build what you're building. The next part is making sure that they're actually capable. So training them, getting them to the point where they can actually get up and running and be an employee that is valuable to you and like earning their keep.
And by this time, you're 6 months in.
Oh yeah, at least.
And however many, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yep. Hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds and thousands of hours of your time and energy. And then there's the retention problem of keeping people around. You get somebody who's just like a dialed employee. They're doing what they're supposed to be doing. You trained them well. They know your systems. They know your process. And 9 times out of 10, that employee is going to be like, I can do this better on my own, or I got a better offer somewhere else, and they leave. And you're like, the first time it happens to you, it's just devastating. The first 100 times it happens to you, it's devastating. In fact, every time it happens to you, it's just the worst. But it's how you learn how to deal with it. I learned that the very best thing is that if somebody's on their way out, give them the fast pass out.
Yeah,
I don't talk anybody into staying. I used to think like, all right, how can I like make this better? How can I encourage them that my team is the best team to be on and they should stay here rather than going next door to work for, Bob's Automotive? Like, what can I do?
Bob's Automotive was much cleaner than the Chinese tire.
It's dude.
Tire
There's
company.
so many. You just let them go. Let them go. Like, don't even think twice. And they lose all power over you. You take them, you strip the power away from them. The power that they have over you, which is like the worst power in the world because you feel helpless when somebody's leaving you. It's like, dude, it goes back to like a lot of people have childhood like abandonment issues and like, not good enough. And why are people leaving my life? Like, it's all connected. It goes way deeper than just like, oh, why is this employee moving on? Mm-hmm. It goes back to like if you didn't have friends in junior high, like why can't I keep friends or why can't I make friends? Like, it's way, way deeper than most people realize. But the best thing you can do is people who are on their way out of your life is figure out a way to get them out faster. Make it on your terms. It doesn't have to always be on their terms. You don't have to always give an employee 2 weeks. There's been multiple times where employees come to me and say, hey, I'm looking for something, or this is my 2 weeks. I'm like, all right, how about just today?
Yeah, you just literally you'll pay them, you'll give them a 2-week check and say, don't come back, please.
Yep. And 9 times out of 10 they come back.
Or try to.
They almost always. There's very few people that when they leave, I can usually tell whether they're going to try to come back. And very few of those people will I actually leave the door open to. There's people where I will allow to come back because I know that they kind of just had to take a detour. They had to go figure out, a lot of people have to figure out on their own whether they can do it or whether they can make it. And if you never let them experience that, if you rob them of that life experience, of that growth moment, they will never know, and they will always feel on the fence. So if you let somebody go out and they spread their wings and they flop, that's a really, really, really valuable lesson for them. If they spread their wings and fly, that's a really valuable lesson for them and you as well. So the biggest thing is new blood is always a very powerful tool. So going to your question, you run a small business out of Chicago and you've had employees, main manager left you. That sucks, especially when they go to a competitor. Trust me. Been there. I have been
so many times.
Dude, I've been with people that have left me and they've gone
times.
to like a business that is my exact same business. It just ends with a Z instead of an S. Like
we're the Z, they're the S.
Yeah, that's literally like it's not. It's one of those things where you just got to let people go, and then you got to replace them with fresh blood. Obviously, you got to fill the role if you have to, and that's one thing that I would encourage you to do is figure out. Right? Whether that person was actually earning their keep. Make sure that they were actually necessary, and don't refill the role just because you need that role filled. Instead, maybe look at how potentially somebody else in your organization could take on those roles. Somebody who's loyal to you, somebody who's actually kicking ass, somebody who is got some bandwidth potentially available, and give it to them. Let them have it. Let them eat. Best freaking example of that I've ever seen is our shop manager, Iram. Iram is a kid from Mexico that came to us a few years ago, put up a thing saying, hey, we're hiring fabricators. And he came to us, and he was from Mexico, living in Mexico at the time. And he came in and worked for us for like a week, like a trial run. And the kid kicked ass.
Yeah,
like he was just such a killer fabricator. I'm like, dude, we got to have this kid. So at the end of the week, we're like, all right, what's it take? Like, how much you want? And he threw a number at us and I was just like, what? Like, I was expecting to pay this kid probably half of what he asked for, but he knew his worth. And I actually, at first I was like, kid, like no way. Like you'll be the highest paid shop guy that I've ever brought on. Like, no. But then I actually had to stop and think about it, and he was firm. He wasn't like throwing a Hail Mary thinking like, oh, I'll ask for this and then settle here. He knew exactly what his worth was. And I saw that after, I finally was able to like process, and I brought him on. And he has been hands down one of the best hires that we've ever made.
5 times what he's
and the reason for that is because he was brought on to be a fabricator, and he kicked ass, and he was doing really good. He's like a designer, engineer, like knew SolidWorks, knew everything. So quickly proved to us like, okay, this guy's worth like what he's asking. And now I understand why he was asking for so much. But we ended up having a position in the shop open up, which is basically shop manager. Shop manager has been like one of the
worst,
the highest revolving door positions of our shop, of our business. You get people come in and they are just these big, crazy personalities, and they can manage people and they can do this and they do that. I don't think we ever had a shop manager last more than 6 months.
No.
We've had some, like, we've tried so many different things.
Taking guys from West Coast Customs.
Yeah. We
literally
literally
work out. Then Dave's like, here's a Hail Mary. I'll throw Hans in there.
Yep.
Let's just have him be the shop manager. That was real super cool for a while.
It's a hard position to fill. And
speaking of which, I think we've had 2 pass away.
Yeah, we have. Definitely 2.
2, yeah.
Yeah, see, it's a hard position. It'll literally kill you. And so Iram, this kid who came to work for me from Mexico, didn't really ask for it. He was just kind of like already acting like a project manager. And we're like, maybe this could scale and like he could manage more. And when my partner Caleb came to me and he's like, hey, I want to promote Iram as shop manager. I was like, no, I don't want to freaking lose Iram, because when you become shop manager, you have to deal with all the payroll or you have to deal with like employee HR, all that kind of bullshit. It's not just building vehicles anymore. I'm like, dude, I don't want to jade hire him. I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to lose him.
Burn all your relationships.
I don't want to lose this guy. But finally, Caleb's like, no, let's just give it a shot. And Hiram wasn't looking for it, but he jumped in and he was okay with it. Like he was definitely open to the position. Dude absolutely crushes.
Yep.
He had the bandwidth available. He's a good example of a loyal employee who sees the bigger picture, and he jumped in and he manages a team of just heathens. And he's got our shop more dialed than it's ever been.
And he's built that team.
Yeah. He's got rid of like the best people in your organization sometimes, in fact, most of the time, are the people that you get rid of. There's a lot of cancer in your organization. So going back to the question here, Scott, take a look in your organization and figure out if you have any cancer. If you got anybody who might be on the fence, if they are on the fence, have a very frank conversation with them and figure out why. If it's because they feel underappreciated and underutilized, then throw more at them. If it's because they feel like they have peaked or maxed out or they know more than you or they have other motives, let them go. And don't look back. And like I said, going back to what I was talking about with new blood, fresh blood is a very powerful tool that you can use in an organization, especially when you have old stagnant employees that sometimes you just got to gut the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I know that sucks.
We've done it at the shop.
We've done it multiple times and finally got to the point where we haven't let go of a shop guy forever.
Yeah.
We finally got a crew that works, and it was a long process of trial and error. So it's just know that it never goes away. Being a boss like you are and owning your own business, employees are a headache that you're going to have until the day you die. Like it's just know that, understand that, get the fact that that's going to be part of it, and just be prepared for it. But you can save yourself a lot of heartache by not trying to rescue a sinking ship of an employee who's on their way out. Just give them the fast pass out. And then utilize employees that may be underutilized. And man, it's the people that you least suspect that will absolutely flourish when you give them just a little bit of room to grow. They'll really do it. All right, one more. Let's see.
I'll also add, let the competition motivate you.
Yeah. I'm going to scroll through these real quick and figure out. It gives me like a voice transcription, so like a quick kind of like a overview of what the message is, and so I just want to make sure that we get the right one here and on a positive note. Guys, I apologize to everybody who called. We will still go back and reevaluate these. I'm going to try to do this. I always say this once a week. I really am going to try to do this, and now that you guys have proven to me that you're actually like engaged and you're leaving these messages, like I've got a bank of information here that I can work off of, and I don't want to leave anybody hanging, although some people will feel that way. It's ultimately going to be one of those things where I have more incentive to do this more regularly because you guys are actually sincere. So,
Hey, Heavy D, I seen your post on your story about your questions or comments for your podcast, and I just kind of want to introduce myself and kind of the pathway I'm going. And my name is Taylor. I'm starting a company called Resurrection Excavating, and hopefully in the near future I want to start a company called Resurrection Off-Road Performance. I have a high knowledge in, both of these career paths and want to truly pursue them as hard as possible. And I mean, I am only 20, and I mean, I have 40 years plus of experience, right? So I truly have a passion and desire to kind of outperform myself and really push what I'm capable of. And, I've been watching your stuff between TV, social media, conferences, just all of it in a general for, as long as I can remember you kind of being around now. And, I'm just kind of stuck on the part of going all in and, truly risking it for a success factor, or starting slow and really, taking my time. And so I'm just curious on what your thoughts are and, how to really pursue something that's so big. I mean, I'm currently working in a job where I have, people that work under me. I'm a foreman for just a local construction company. And, I want to grow myself as an individual, and I really want to expand what I'm truly capable of. So, I mean, if you have any good insights or info, throw it up on the podcast. I mean, I just would love to hear. Awesome. Thank you.
Dive in.
Yeah.
Just dive into the deep end.
That's a lot. All good things, Taylor. Thanks for your call. Appreciate you reaching out. Sounds like I love to hear, 20-year-old kid who's just got big dreams and aspirations and goals. We've all been there. And it hits everybody at different stages of their life. Sometimes you're just born with it and you come out of the womb with your foot on the gas, and sometimes you don't realize it, and then you turn 20 or you turn 30 and you're like, you know what? I can do more. I want to do more. And so what I'm gathering here, Taylor, is you're hungry and you want to, kind of what I'm picking up on is you feel a little bit under challenged, a little bit underwhelmed in what you're currently doing, which is why you obviously have the goal of starting an excavation company and an off-road performance shop. Just a little bit of advice before I get too deep into this. Excavation is a great way to make money.
Yeah, I was going to say that's
dirt work. Phenomenal way.
Always going to be needed.
Yep. There's always a need for it. You got to be careful. Best advice I can give you as somebody who has, ran my own excavation company for many years. Don't try to go out if you can make your business profitable and really provide a killer service with 4 machines. Don't rush out and buy 10. Every excavation company I've ever seen has made the same mistake. They go from being the guy with a couple of skid loaders and a couple of mini X's and just a handful of small equipment, and they're killing it doing rock walls and landscape jobs and little things here and there, and they see these other big dirt work contractors and they're like, I want to do more. I want to take on more. I want to have multiple crews. Well, that's great, but let's talk about the risk that is associated with doing that. Every excavation company I've ever seen that's failed has been simply because they just got too big. They just wanted to grow, and they had a big contract lined up, and then they went from doing rock walls to all of a sudden they got a contractor that says come do all my foundations, and so they're like, I got to get 2 more big hose, I got to get a second crew going. Be very, 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 very careful and deliberate with your growth, and honestly, I would say. Just check yourself when you're thinking that you're going to grow or expand. Give yourself a couple of months before you make any decisions based off of that. Like, you can lay all the groundwork, do everything you need to do, get the contracts in place, get the people there, do whatever you need to do. But before you go buy that extra equipment and go hire those extra guys and take on all that extra load and risk and responsibility, just give yourself kind of like a cooling off period, because the market is always fluctuating. It's up and down. And you will find that growing from a small excavation company to a large excavation company is not as fun as you may think. Because the all it does is just, if you grow 10 times, that means your problems and your risk also grew 10 times. And you may not see that right now. You may just see the potential and the opportunity and the upside. But don't forget that as you amplify your upside, you also amplify your risk for potential failure. And when you get to that level, you fall way faster and way harder than you do when you're small. So staying small, some of the happiest guys in the world I've ever seen running dirt work companies are guys that keep their companies to like small to mid-size. Ryan from Rock Structures.
Dude, I was just
great example.
Literally going to say that.
Freaking love Ryan. In fact, by the way, guys, shout out to Ryan. Anybody in Utah, if you need dirt work done, Ryan from Rock Structures, just one of the greatest souls in the world. Just a happy dude that absolutely is a master of his craft.
He's a master of his craft, and I think he's a master of his time too. I think with this guy he's wanting to do a off-road business and a dirt work business.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Do the dirt business and then allow yourself to grow to a point where you can go have fun on the off-roading scene.
That's exactly the advice that I would give you. I was going to get to you got this in 2 parts. You're talking about resurrection excavating and resurrection off-road performance.
Off-road performance is not fun in the shop. Off-road performance is fun on the trails.
Yeah, one of the quickest ways to lose money is to start an off-road shop.
And motivation.
Yeah.
You're not going to want to go out and go off-roading if you're stuck in the shop working on off-road vehicles all day long.
Because guess what? You're not working on your vehicles.
Yeah.
You're working on, very few shops can figure out a way to continuously work on their own projects. Like we've barely figured it out over the years, and we still struggle with it because we don't like to take on customer builds. We like to do our own stuff, and it's and if we didn't have YouTube and the content and the entertainment side of our business, we would have never been able to stay in business. So just know that dealing with customers sucks. Like dealing with dirt work customers, easy, because people don't really know, like, a hole's a hole.
You're the master.
A rock wall is a rock wall. Somebody's Jeep Willys that they got handed down from their dad that they want restored, that they also think they want like coilovers and 4-link on. The most frustrating thing in the world is when you are trying to meet people's expectations when it comes to custom builds.
Yeah, especially after all your blood, sweat, and tears is poured into it.
Yep.
And then it doesn't ride like a 2025 Cadillac.
Exactly. Or the paint, the body isn't perfectly straight, or a million different things can take the fun out of that business in a hurry. So maybe if you're passionate about off-road performance, the best way to keep that passion intact is to not make it your job. Yeah. And I hate to say that because you're probably thinking like, oh, no, you don't try to talk me out of it. And I'm not necessarily trying to talk you out of it. I'm just going to tell you right now that it's not always, in fact, 9 times out of 10, it doesn't go the way you want it to. Custom automotive business is really, really finicky. It's really hard. When the economy drops out, you're the first person to get stiffed on the bills. And even when the economy is going great, people don't like to pay their bills because they can give you any number of reasons of why the custom job wasn't up to their expectations. But when it comes to the dirt work side, it's scalable and you can grow it. So I think what I'm hearing though, and what the advice I want to give you is, you have, it sounds like a big personality, a big, vibrance and energy about you. Why don't you start by building a team, building a community of people around you that are like-minded? I don't know if you live in a small town, big town, whatever, but go, for example, if you're starting the excavation company, go build yourself just a kick-ass team of dudes that really love doing what you guys do, and get them a sick freaking, company logo, and get them the Carhartt hoodies, and get them something that they're proud of. And then when these guys go out on date night, they're literally wearing like the company stuff because they're just so proud of it. And it just looks so cool. And it's something that like they stand behind. And you're going to build this little tribe of people that are like-minded and that have your best interest in mind because you all have kind of the common goal. So build a team, build a community around whatever it is, that venture that you're going to take, and you'll find a lot of fulfillment. You'll find a lot of happiness, and you'll find a lot of growth in that. Because as you build this team, let's say you grow from you to 4 guys. Well, if you do it right, people are going to see that and they're going to be like, I want a part of that. That looks really fun. Like, that's cool. I want to be in on that. You'll build something that people just naturally want to be a part of. And that's hard to do with an off-road shop.
And I think you'll find times where the off-roading scene will also mold into that. Like Ryan, for example. Ryan's a big motocross guy. He's able to go do dirt work for some of these freestyle riders, some of these other guys, and it's just he sticks in his lane, which is dirt work, but he finds opportunities to also throw in some of his passion too. Yeah. And I think there's a road for that as well.
Yeah, let your passion add to the value that you're bringing in your career, and don't make your passion your whole career, because again, that's a quick way to just no longer be passionate about it anymore. I've watched too many friends go out and try to start shops and end up going out of business and just end up going to work for somebody else.
But would you also tell them, if your passion is the off-road scene, just to do that and not the dirt work side? Because it kind of contradicts what we talked about earlier with the whole, like, if you're into watches, go sell watches. There's a business there. Mm-hmm. If you're really into the off-road scene, just do that. Don't do the dirt work. Just do the off-road scene.
Or maybe figure out a way to sell off-road parts online, or create a community around it, or do something rather than just custom builds, because that's the hardest way to make money in the off-road world, is doing custom builds. Everybody thinks that it's easy, but it's the amount of companies that actually make it is staggering. It's a very low number. You'd be surprised. So guys, thank you for joining us. Thank you for your calls. There are so many that we didn't get to, but fear not. Just because we didn't get to your call today does not mean that it's going to be buried and forgotten about, because that's not the way that it goes. We're going to actually circle back to as many of these as we can and try to avoid, bringing on too many more messages until we're able to get to, some more of these ones, because there's some really good ones in here. Like, I'm kind of reading some of these transcripts, and there's just some seriously some solid people in here. So we appreciate you guys. The fact that you're paying attention to what we do, we're honored. We're humbled by your support, and the fact that you're actually engaging with us on a level where you're coming to us for advice, like big advice, like life-changing advice in some cases. That's we don't take that lightly, and we're going to try really hard to continue to deliver the best possible information and the best possible entertainment to you. So I'm hoping that, as we kind of do this more regularly, we'll be able to keep you guys up to date on like what our community is doing, what our group of people is doing, and what we're excited about. And, you'll be able to kind of anticipate our next move a little bit more rather than, going from a missing person search to treasure hunt to this and that, which we're always going to have that. That's always going to be an exciting element of what we do. But for those of you who really, truly are like in this with us, we're just going to try to be a little bit more in touch with you because, you support us, and we owe you, the mutual respect of supporting you back. So with that said, guys, checklist items. Number 1 is going to be, what was my number 1? Oh, do it now. Just, you know what? That's going to be my only one for this.
Yeah.
Just do it now. If there's something you've been putting off or something that you're not good at or something you've been procrastinating, make an agreement with yourself and make it a very firm agreement and give yourself consequences if you don't follow through, but do it right now. Don't do it later. Don't wait. Do it now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.